Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. My name is Imam Abdul Alim Musa, and I'm representing Masjid al-Islam, and it is Masjid al-Islam in Southeast Washington, but we represent also Masjid al-Islam from Oakland, and at one time, before we faced the serious challenge, we had over 10 masajid in the United States, a couple in LA, of course, Oakland, Sacramento. We also had them in San Diego, Denver. It was basically, we was well situated around the United States. In the last decades, we have faced several challenges. At the same time, we're still here. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that, because there has been very few movements, especially from the African American community, that have faced decades of challenges, but they survived. Years ago, the average survival rate was like, if you could last 5 years, you'd get a medal, And if you look at the black movement, the height of the black movement, if you call it 65 to 70, that was 5 years. It was things happened before. Freedom rides happened before. March on Washington, I Had a Dream speech happened 63, but 1967 and 1968, that I Had a Dream speech had metamorphosed or changed into My American Nightmare. If any of you want to get a fix on the American condition, listen to Martin Luther King, not I Had a Dream, but listen to him at Riverside Baptist Church in New York, 1967 and 1968. But on to our community. We have a serious community, and we have adopted certain ideas. But before those ideas, I want to read a little bit about charity. If you disclose acts of charity, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, even so it is well. But if you conceal them and make them reach those really in need, that is best for you. It will remove from you some of the stains of evil. There's a part in here that says, if you conceal them, the hadith says the best charity is to give charity but with the right hand and cover it up with the left hand. This is what it says. But in this case, if you make your charity really reach those who need it, and we're coming to you this year, and we're going to distribute these DVDs right at this time. This is the mid-Ramadan and past, and we're going to distribute these DVDs very soon, along with a flyer. But here's the idea. And make them reach those really in need. That's us. Those really in need. All of the great fundraising groups that you have seen in the so-called civil rights type organizations amongst the Muslims, I won't mention their names, but you know who they are. I want you to think about how much service you have received from those people. I'm not going to talk about who staff them or anything like that. I'm not going to talk about what is that fund down in Texas, the Muslim Legal Fund. It's a nice fund established by mostly ex-district attorneys and people like that, And I won't mention CARE, because Nihad was a very good friend of ours. I won't mention them. I'm going to mention us, because for 40 years you have seen us stand right up for the truth. And whether you like us or not, That's been our mission, and we're going to continue that mission. We're in a state right now that we need your help, and so we're addressing specifically the Muslims in Northern Virginia, D.C., and Southern Maryland. We want you to make your Zakatul Fitr or Sadaqatul Fitr reach us, because at this particular time we have established we have elevated a little bit. This is Imam Tufail Strategic Command Center that we have already christened, but it's not open yet. We want you to help us open it so we can stand up clearly for you. We're not asking you to join up with us. We're asking you to support us, and we know what the struggle is here in the United States and around the Muslim world, and we want to do our part right here. So it says, if you give charity with one hand and hide it with the rest, but we want you to find out a way. We're going to be out this year with boxes as usual. But if you don't see us with a box, you get your crew and the little brothers you hook up with and sisters, and y'all bundle your money together and bring it by, send it by, to make sure you put it in our hand. Now, we're asking you to do that because we're taking a big step, and we're only depending on Allah and yourselves. We depend on Allah and the believers. We always have. But this is a critical moment in Islamic history and in general history. So if you make it conceal your charity, but make it really help those in need, it will remove from you some of the stains of evil. And Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. There's another ayat that we like. Charity is for those in need who in Allah's cause are restricted from travel and cannot move about in the land seeking for trade or work. The ignorant man thinks because of their modesty that they are free from want. Because we talk so serious, you may think that we're self-supported somewhere. Well, we were self-supported, and we are self-supported. What we're saying now, what we're doing now, is part of our self-support. But that self-support reaches out, and you snatch our hand, and you help us go the rest of the way. The people that don't understand what's been going on, they may think that we have some special personality, a group of personalities that support us. Right now, we don't. Technically, the government has ran all of them away. And when you see the news about so-and-so is sanctioned and they freeze accounts, they've done all that to us. Don't make no difference. We're still here. And they can freeze up the whole world. We're going to still be here. I want you to get used to that. You're looking at us now, just say, we're going to see them Negroes till they die. That's what you got to get in your mind. We have no plans or no concept of leaving the battlefield. Okay, so when you look at us, we don't want you to look at us out here with boxes like beggars. We're not beggars. We are mujahideen. We're struggling within the way of Allah within the United States, trying to support our global Islamic movement from where we are and do it in the best and biggest way possible. So now, with that in mind, we are depending on you to carry us all the way. And now we'll go to a few subjects that we want to approach. So spend your zakat where it might be used. Okay, we have helped others raise funds, and they have raised. I've been at fundraisers myself, doing security and everything, and we've seen people raise way over $1 million. I mean, that's back a long time ago. In modern times, they raising just big money. Okay, with that same kind of money, we feel almost like declaring jihad. They got all that money, and where does it go? It's sitting in the masjid. So I know the other communities need money to carry out their business, but the ayat we was reading said, help your wealth reach those really who need it, and we're adding the ones that appear to have used all of their wealth and who it is very possible that they would use all future income fi sabilillah. The other thing we want to do now is our strategic command center. We want to deal with America, the Zionists, and the people of the world. We want to turn them on to what we're about. We want to give a whole new picture of what Islam is. Other people have designed a picture. They have placed the image on us, and that's what the world views us as. We have to put out a new image. That means a picture of who we are. We're peace-loving, family-loving, and harmonious people. And we want the world to know that. And if you've seen people running around getting put in jail by the FBI in America, usually the FBI set them up to do that. Usually the Zionists set them up to do that. I don't know. I've been here in the Islamic movement for close to 50 years, but over 40 years of real active work. And I haven't met any of those kind of people that you see on TV that carry bombs to synagogues, that do this. I haven't even talked to nobody like that. Okay? But that message is not getting out. People don't know that's who we are. We're peace-loving. We're family people. When they see a woman in hijab, they think about blowing up a building, right? When they see people making salat and hearing the adhan, that's a secret call for the Muslims to practice terrorism. Well, if anybody being terrorized in the world today, it is the Muslims who are being terrorized by being bombed in Iraq, by being killed in Yemen, by being expropriated of funds and oil in Libya, in Syria, in Afghanistan, all around the world, calling Hezbollah, the Party of God, a terrorist organization. And wherever you see them, they got a bag of groceries trying to help people. But you don't see that here. So we have to tell our own story. Okay. So we want to reshape America's image, not only of us, but of itself. You know, America has a lot of things. If you were to read certain things about America, you would be shocked to hear about, let me see if I can find something nice here. What about the four freedoms? Anybody ever heard of the four freedoms? Franklin Delano Roosevelt? In 1941, he talked about the four freedoms. He talked about the freedom of speech everywhere in the world, the freedom of worship. Like if you feel uncomfortable saying Allahu Akbar, that's wrong, because you got the freedom of worship. I'm talking about in America. That's what they guaranteed. That's what Franklin Roosevelt was talking about in 1941. I think it was January the 6th, 1941. Freedom from want, from hunger. If you look at the people of Yemen, those people have been really, it's not Yemen. It's Afghanistan. It's anywhere you look. And it's for those of you who are immigrants, you can know this from where your relatives are from. All of your relatives have been receiving a real bad way to go. We want to fix that. Freedom of want. Freedom from fear.
Don the other week had another year, a couple of years ago, had people talking about we want to increase the Muslim ban from around the world, right? Now they have something going on in Ukraine, and they want to send the people out of Europe back to where they right now today, right? And they want the people from Ukraine. Of course, you see the news. Why, they look like us. They have blonde hair and blue eyes. That's what they said. Okay. So freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. And another thing that came up in the U.S. years ago, you wouldn't believe it. Would read history, just tap your telephone and tap the good neighbor policy. The good neighbor policy. The good neighbor was now we conceive it as global, but at that time it dealt with all of the Americas. That America had been such a bully and so mean to everybody, and continuous wars in the southern hemisphere, that President Roosevelt came up with the good neighbor policy. And he stated we have to live in our world as a good neighbor. That's what he said. And of course he died in 1945, and they trashed that. Right after that, they came back with full force. And they changed that good neighbor policy from a traumatic neighbor policy, a murderous neighbor policy, an invading neighbor policy. From everywhere and everybody that you can imagine down in South, and they still have it going on right today. So if you look at Venezuela, they're talking about, well, last week or two they were talking about, well, they're nice guys, but 2 weeks before that, they was boycotting them, talking bad about them. Nicaragua, if you would, they supported Somoza and his family from 1932 all the way up to the 80s or the 70s, right? And soon as they got rid of him as a dictator, then they said that we want to support the Contras, Contra in Spanish, Contra, against. They supported them against, and they did it in any kind of way they wanted. I don't know if you heard of Hassan Foos and all them people, and cocaine for arms and all that. That was the policy. They changed from a good neighbor policy to being the worst neighbor that you could have. Somebody you didn't want to live in their neighborhood, and you didn't want them in yours. So we want to reshape the whole American focus. Included in that is reshape and reform how the American people see themselves and how they see the world. And America is just right for that right now. Because if you want to look at unhappy people in the world, suicides and all of that, you would have to look in America. It has everything at its disposal, but the people don't know what to do. We can help them with that. Yes, that's where we come in. We can help them focus on those things that are important in life. And the first thing that's most important is to rehabilitate yourself from the arms race and from fighting and killing and destroying whole civilizations, from the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, that's the Iraq War, to Syria and all of its, and the biggest bazaar for centuries in Aleppo. Yeah. The great theaters in Syria, even from some of Syria's in ancient times, part of certain empires, the Eastern Roman Empire, and they have great theaters and all of that stuff right there in Syria. Okay.
Turkey is part of what we used to call Uthmaniyya, the Ottoman Empire, and it fell, but it have great histories and great personalities that have been there, and we want to help revive that. So what we're talking about, they talking the word like a woke theory. This is everybody want to be woke today. Well, we want you really to be woke, not sleep. We don't want you thinking that this war over here is bad because Mr. Putin is crazy. We want you to do some research and stop being a crackpot. Well, we don't want to call you crackpots or anything, but we want you to be sensitive to what's going on in the world. So we have had experience with this. Our early contributions was East Oakland Enterprises. It was the first black economic enterprise zone that we organized and led from 1968 to, let's say, 1971, where we had to kind of leave for a while. But this was I want you to study, see. Don't take us for granted. We've been here a long time, and we've been in the front ranks for a long, long time. In those days, Martin Luther King moved to Chicago in 1968 to do what? To start a black economic enterprise zone, right? Yeah. We was already doing it during his time. We were younger, but we did it. We did it so serious that boss man said, basically, you people got to go. We're not having that, you know. So build a positive self-image for Muslims. Self-image is how you see yourself. Our children are growing up under this oppressive media, and they might begin to see themselves as terrorists. They may begin to see themselves as something is wrong with them, right? Something is wrong with us. Okay, so we have to help cure that something is wrong with us syndrome, and there's something wrong with the world, and that they can join up with groups and movements and organizations and help cure that. So we want to build a positive self-image of Muslims and Islam and kind of provide them with a spirit of liberators of the human spirit, and lift the veil of ignorance from our friends here in the Western Empire or the Western United States. And as we wrap this up, remember the four freedoms. Those are all part, if you would read anything in Islam, you find those: freedom of worship, freedom from want. That's why we give zakat, sadaqah, so other people can eat, right? Freedom of worship, la ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. If they want to worship something else, they Ali Kitab or whatever, they have the freedom. Under the Muslims, under the Islamic Empire, they were Muslims, Jews, and Christians all living in harmony together under Islam. Okay, freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. How much of those freedoms are going around now? How much of those are the Muslims are embedded, impressed with keep your mouth shut, la ilaha illallah in the closet, everybody holding on to the little bit they got and not giving and sharing. When you give and share, the wealth grows, increase. Freedom from fear. Okay, so dear believers, you're going to see us out there with our boxes and a big smile. So pack up your money bags. I'm not saying don't give your zakat and sadaqah to your big organization, but your big organization is just going to build more little things, add on to the property. We're going to struggle in the cause of Allah to liberate, is the mission of Islam, to liberate man from the worship of other men to the worship of Allah. So that means we want to liberate the soul and spirit of the Muslims in America and the American people themselves. The American people, we believe, are generally good people. They just don't know what's going on because the media, the Zionists, is telling them what to do. And I'll close with this. The Zionists have so misconstrued the world that when they think about an invasion, right now they think about Putin invading Ukraine. But when the United States invaded, right, Iraq, when the United States invaded Libya, when the United States breathes fire all day about what it wants to do to Iran, when the U.S. invaded for the umpteenth time Lebanon and destroyed, and the Zionists killed over 40,000 people in 1982. They destroyed Lebanon, and it's okay. The Zionists right now are slaughtering people in Palestine, the Muslims, right? And it's okay. It's not a big deal. You see what I mean? It's not a big deal. It's a small deal. Okay, so what we want to do is we want you to help us. Usually we wouldn't say, so we want y'all to help us with your funds and your du'as. And you help us with those and we'll do the best that we can, inshallah, with the rest. So we thank you very much for listening to us. We will accompany this DVD with a one-page flyer, so you'll be able to contact us and we'll give you an outline of what our agenda is and what we aim to do in the next few years. You can type up some names on the internet and don't pay no attention now, because they're going to say this guy's the meanest guy in the world. Those people are terrorists. Don't pay no attention to that. Use that as a sign of approval, that if they said it's bad, it must be good, right? If the Zionists say bad, then it must be good. So whatever, hey, that's a good one. Yeah, go to your internet and type up Imam Abdul Alim Musa, Masjid al-Islam, and when you do that, send us all you got. Thank you very much. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر